If you're a homeschooling parent or involved in classical conversations, you've likely encountered Blue Book assessments. But you may still have some questions about what they are and why they matter. In this video, we'll explore what these assessments really entail and how they fit into the broader goals of a classical Christian education. It's not about cramming for a test, passing it, and moving on to the next grade. It's about fostering a deeper, more meaningful approach to learning. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a Blue Book assessment? Simply put, it's not a test you should fear. It's a celebration, a reflection on the learning and growth your child has experienced over the semester. The goal isn't to pressure them into remembering facts for a one-time test, but to encourage them to pause, to reflect, and to recognize just how much they've learned and to continue that journey of lifelong learning. This kind of assessment is grounded in classical education principles, where the focus is on cultivating understanding and growing in wisdom, not just knowledge. Blue Book assessments offer a moment to reflect on those deeper truths and to see how their studies connect to the larger picture of life and to how they can worship God and how they can make Him known. We also need to clarify what Blue Book assessments are not. They're not about cramming the night before and stressing over a grade. There's no need to worry about filling in bubbles or multiple choice on a test sheet. These assessments are not designed to create anxiety. Instead, they're an opportunity for reflection. Your child won't be tested just to recall facts for a grade. Instead, Blue Book assessments invite them to reflect on their learning journey, considering how the pieces of their education fit together in meaningful ways. This process encourages a deeper, more lasting understanding of the material. So what makes a Blue Book assessment different from the traditional exams we may have encountered while we were in school? Well, to put it simply, Blue Books are focused on demonstrating understanding and expressing wisdom, not just confirming knowledge. In a traditional test, the objective is often just to measure how much information a student can recall in a short amount of time. Unfortunately, this method tends to focus on facts in isolation. And let's face it, we've all had the experience of cramming for a test only to forget everything the next day. That cram, test, dump cycle, we want to end that. However, Blue Book assessments aim for something much deeper. They encourage your child to synthesize ideas, to connect the dots between subjects, and to consider how their learning aligns with their understanding of the world around them. For example, a student studying biology will reflect on the human body and how it reflects the order and complexity of God's creation, not just memorize terms for a test. At Classical Conversations, our goal is not just to fill students' minds with knowledge, but to guide them from knowledge to understanding and ultimately to wisdom. This is the key to classical Christian education. Take biology for an example. While memorizing the names of body systems may be important, Blue Book assessments ask students to consider why those systems exist and how they reflect God's design. It's not enough to know how the heart works. Students should also see how the function of the heart demonstrates the order and purpose of creation. This is true across all subjects, whether it's studying literature, history, or logic. The objective is to move beyond surface-level knowledge and understand the connections between ideas, and importantly, how they point to the truth. At its core, Blue Book assessments are about reflection. It's a time to stop and think, what have I learned? How do these ideas connect? And how can I apply this understanding in my life? For example, a Challenge 3 Blue Book might ask students to reflect on this question. How do different philosophers define man? And how does that compare to Shakespeare's definition or the Founding Fathers' views in the context of the Constitution? This is a reflection-based assessment, one that requires students to think deeply about what they've studied, integrate knowledge across disciplines, and articulate their thoughts clearly. No cramming, no regurgitation, just meaningful reflection. Blue Book assessments, like anything, takes practice and takes familiarity. If you have a Challenge A student about to do their first Blue Book assessment, keep your expectations realistic. Consider what you would do with a blank page and an open-ended question. Now make yourself 12 years old and consider that this is a tough thing for your student to grasp. There's going to be a learning curve there for them. As they grow, as they get older, as they've had more conversations in community, more conversations with you, they've read more, they've thought more, those Blue Book assessments will start to look a little different. You'll read what they wrote and just be blown away at the wisdom that you see coming through. Many families in classical conversations have found that these assessments offer something truly special. Here's one testimonial from a CC parent. Alexis says, "We enjoy taking time out of our routines to contemplate and remember the rich treasures we've discovered over each semester. It's such a blessing to pause and praise God for the wisdom He's blessing us with on this educational journey." This resonates with so many families because rather than stressing about a test, Blue Book assessments become a moment of celebration, a chance to reflect on how much their children have learned and how that learning fits into the larger framework of their lives and how they can celebrate and worship God with what they've learned. The traditional model of assessments, testing, focuses on short-term recall, but Blue Book assessments focus on cultivating a deep, lasting understanding. Instead of pressuring students to memorize and forget, these assessments encourage critical thinking. They make connections across all subjects and ask students to express their ideas clearly. They're tools for reflection, not just evaluation. Blue Books guide students toward a more meaningful way of learning, one that shapes their worldview, nurtures wisdom, and helps them grow closer to understanding God's truth. Blue Book assessments are about more than just evaluating a child's knowledge. They're about encouraging them to reflect, to connect ideas, and ultimately to grow in wisdom. It's a celebration of what they've learned and a reminder that education is a lifelong journey. So if you're navigating classical conversations with your child, know that Blue Book assessments are there to support them and you, not just in their academic growth, but in their journey of wisdom and in their spiritual journey.